Public school's free. We live in a capitalist
We're
country.
not talking about what is, we're talking about what should be.
No. We live in a capitalist country.
What does that mean?
If you pay, you should get more than somebody who didn't.
Well, how horrible is that?
That's the country we live in. If you
No,
don't
I
like
don't,
it,
I don't, I don't know if I agree with that.
If you don't like it, move to Cuba. They'll make you a doctor in no time. But that's not America. If you pay for private school,
do we really like America?
don't ask me that question.
I mean, but this is my point. So what I'm saying, so if that's the case, then we need to make education free for everybody. You know, what I'm, as I said, we're not talking about what is, we're talking about what should be. And the fact is that education in this country should be streamlined. We should all be getting the same education.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. But that's not the way it works. You know,
Stop talking about the way it works.
I know, but this is why I keep honing in on that, because the whole critical race theory idea is coming from the federal level, right? The reason why all of these states are debating it is because from the federal level, they're planning to dictate funding based on this whole thing being taught. Right. And that decision is being made before we even decide when is it appropriate to teach children that if your color looks like this, your life might be different than somebody whose color looks like that.
Well, once again, it's because we're always, as always, we're looking at something from a financial standpoint.
It's a capitalist country.
Once again, I mean, that's all fine and great, but these are the problems that we're going to have, is what I'm saying to you. Like, this is, as I said, we're not talking about what is, we're talking about what should be. We could talk, we would not have to have a discussion if we were talking about what is, because we all know what
no, is. We have to talk about what is so that we can figure out how to make things what they should be. So if we already know we live in a capitalist country where money is king, it ain't about right or wrong. It ain't about morals. It's about money. It's about winning and losing. That's what it's about. We got to start with that, and then we got to move forward accordingly. And I don't think it's worth our time, knowing those things to be true. I don't think it's really worth our time to try to force people to understand how we feel and what our experience was. You ain't got to understand it, homie. Just make it right.
So I think we're saying the same thing in essence then, because that's what I'm saying. You got to move away from the emotional part of it, because nobody cares about your feelings. You're absolutely right. What I'm saying is that if you want to introduce this to your children, then you have to come at it from a factual standpoint.
No, they can teach the facts, but it's not stopping there. That's the whole argument against it. That's the point where, from what I've seen, the people who are against it, that's the point where they object, is they don't want their white babies to be guilted or be made to feel guilty for the fact that they were born white and they didn't go through the struggles that, you know, our people went through. Now, if we want to talk about whether or not it's right to teach all of American history to our kids, I'm going to say yes 10 times out of 10. But the question really is teaching this to young children in our schools what's best for the country. Would it make America better if we're teaching kids around this theory that, okay, you're black, you're white, that means the system's going to treat you this way and it's going to treat you another way? Is it right for us to have children grow up with that on their conscience?
Yes.
Why?
How do you change something if you don't know it's a problem?
At what point, though?
You want me to give you a grade?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the argument.
But here's the thing. No, but here's the thing. This is where I feel like I can't answer this question. There are things that need to be processed to figure those questions out.
But they're not doing that.
Well, they should.
That's the whole issue.
But
They're just saying implement this now.
Well, that's not smart. What grade do you think it should happen?
I said probably junior year of high school and on.
What makes you say that? What is it about a 16, 17-year-old that makes you think that they're able to handle that?
I don't know necessarily that anybody's able to handle it. It's pretty fucked up to have to acknowledge that we live in a colored society. It's like people, I've seen many people talk about CRT. It villainizes people for claiming to be colorblind, and it keeps us, looking backwards instead of looking ahead, so on and so on and so on. I've seen all of that stuff, and to me, it's a bit ridiculous. So I don't know if anybody is ready to really digest the truth about America. However, I think when children grow into college age, they have to have, some sort of foundation, because a lot of them are going off on their own for the very first time. They're experiencing things that they've never experienced before. And I think junior year high school is when you can kind of start to prepare them for some of the things that they may be exposed to when they go off to college. It'll be fresh in their mind, and it won't, like, I think America really robs people of their innocence, specifically us. We're at a very young age where we come from. We're not seen as or treated as innocent anymore. Like once you're able to go outside by yourself, somebody's liable to make you a suspect or a target in some type of way.
This is why I'm saying to you, Will, that I don't like the shock value of that. This is what I'm saying. That it needs to be a gradual process.
But that's something that can be taught at home.
I'm sorry?
That's something that I feel like for younger children, it's up to the parents at home to prepare.
But I mean, I think that's already happening, right? Like how many of us have heard that men have to have the talk with their sons at what age or whatever, right? That's fine. But what I'm saying to you is if we're talking about introducing this into schools, right? Why I'm saying there needs to be a gradual process. You can't just have somebody go into junior year and say, hey, yeah, by the way, when you go outside, you're going to be jacked up because you're black, right? I think there has to be you have to start small so that the understanding becomes, so that they can comprehend exactly what it is. Like if you start a seed, you got to watch it grow. Same thing. You just plant the seed and then you watch it grow. And then when you get into high school, then you're really ready to have a conversation about it because you're not being shocked with this information. You've been told this.
Like you saying that actually makes me think, because if I had to choose of something to add to our school's curriculums, it wouldn't be finances. I mean, yeah, finances is definitely a big one. That's definitely a big one. But to me, even bigger than that is African history. I think if we wanted to teach children, our children especially, if we wanted to teach them something at a young age, we should teach them who they are, what they come from, and what happened on the continent before we even got here. So that
I have a question for you. Yeah. Why does it have to be one or the other?
It doesn't. What I'm saying is this, and this is where I was going with it. I still would say, don't teach these children anything surrounding CRT until, junior year of high school. But make sure that by the time they get to that point, they understand exactly who they are. So when they do learn it, they're like, oh, shit. Like, we went from that to this because of all of this that happened. Instead, what we do in this country, we limit the identity of African people to their experience in America. We're so much more than that. We're so much bigger than that. We're so much more powerful than that. And our experience here is rooted in pain and suffering. I don't want my children going to school being reminded of all of the pain and suffering we've gone through every day. It takes a toll.
Correct.
So instead, I'd rather teach them about Mansa Musa. I'd rather teach them about ancient Ethiopia. I'd rather teach them about Egypt. I'd rather teach them about the politics there. As a matter of fact, teach our children how even till this day, America and Europe is financing off of everything African, and we get a split over what should naturally be ours. Teach us that, because that serves a functional purpose. CRT, to me, the only purpose it serves is, look, understand what we've gone through, understand why things are the way that they are, and then let's vote to change it. We don't need this.
I didn't really get that. I didn't really get that. I didn't really get that from CRT.
To me, that's what it looks like. Like we elect politicians every year to take care of our communities. And they're supposed to take care of everyone equally. We already have a system in place that's supposed to take care of people. These politicians, they're not confused about the experience of Black people in America. There's nothing they don't know. They make the decisions that they make because that's what they choose to do. And I don't think teaching these children this stuff, and half of them are probably not going to retain it anyway. I don't think it's
no. So once again, right, there are things that we just know because it's been repeated, like history classes over and over and over and over again, right? The things that just everybody just knows, right? So I like that aspect, and we talked about that before, of teaching real Black history, right?
Yes.
Like, we were people before slaves, right?
Yes.
So really teaching that, and I think that's key. I think that's really important. I also believe there is room for this critical race theory only because there are the facts of what we're talking about in terms of racism. So when we think about it, when people talk about racism, they're usually speaking about the emotional piece of it. Black people are being treated unfairly by their white oppressors, right? Cool. That sounds cute, whatever, right? But if you get to the nitty gritty and show how politically and legally and systematically this happens in this country, I think it forget Black people, because we the only ones that care about it, right? We have to start making white people care about it. And if you teach that from a young age, before mommy and daddy has gotten a whole slew in your ear about how you better than everybody because your skin is bright, I think you start to change. I think you start to change their minds about that. And I think that's important.
Let me ask you something, because I listened to first of all, let me say this. Let me drop a quick stat. So as a response to CRT, there are 25 states that introduce bills or have taken other steps to restrict education on racism and bias in America. 5 states have already signed bills into law to restrict education on racism and bias. Those 5 states are Texas, Idaho, Iowa, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. I listened to the Senate hearing from Idaho, and I listened to the arguments against having a CRT, centered curriculum, so to speak. Idaho, when I checked the demographics, Idaho's 90-something% white. It's less than 1% Black. So if they're teaching a curriculum in Idaho where the majority of these children don't have white classmates, probably never even met a Black person. I mean, the majority of children don't have Black classmates, probably never met one. What purpose is it really going to serve? Because when they go home and they talk to their parents about what they learned, you don't think their parents are going to say, that's way before our time. You ain't even got to worry about that. Just get the answers right on the test. They don't live in that world.
That's fine. So 2 things, right? One, as I said, sometimes you just got to plant the seed. You just got to plant the seed. Second thing is those people in Idaho, they don't have to stay in Idaho the rest of their lives. There are other parts of this country that people move to all the time.
I ain't never met nobody from Idaho. I assume that they all stay there.